People don't realize the stress that litigation puts on them. For many people, those years of litigation are lost years of their lives. In my own experience, my father was in business with his son-in-law, and then when the divorce came between my sister and Stu, it didn't take long thereafter for the business separation to take part. And they were older at this point, and they were on a big trip to Europe. Well, it turns out they canceled that. We were just under too much stress. I told them how to resolve it. Of course, what does your son know? They didn't. 2 years later, they resolved it exactly on the terms I had suggested they should. But it just robs you of your life, and litigation does. Not to mention your savings account. It's very expensive, and the courts are, unfortunately because of economic constraints, just not very concerned about the cost to the people that need the judicial system. They're cutting back on the amount of financing they get from the state. They increased the filing fees. They've increased the difficulty in San Bernardino County, in fact in Los Angeles County as well, in their work towards efficiency, they've made the courts less and less accessible, and you go down to court time and time again, and you spend a day or 3/4 of a day, and they say, oh gee, we can't take you today, come back in 3 months, and we can repeat this again. It gets incredibly expensive. I just can't believe how expensive divorces are. So there has to be another way to resolve litigation. If you got $1 million case, you can afford to litigate it. It costs you far more money than you thought, but that's what happens. But for most people, litigation is just not the answer. You can avoid all that stress. You can put a real limitation on what it's going to cost you. Most mediators, as I do, will give you a fixed rate up front, give you some degree of assurance when they believe this can be settled. I can tell many people that I think they can do their case in half a day, with a very high degree of success as far as predicting how long it's going to take to do that. And it's really important that people understand how important it is to me as a mediator trying to resolve that case is to them. I want to be that person in the room who is more reluctant to let them walk out of there without a settlement than they are. And by the way, that's contagious. At some point during the process, they begin to sense that you really care about taking this burden off their shoulders and finding a way out. And they almost start to want to do it for you, if not for themselves. It's a very interesting process, and it's a very satisfying process to see people who were so angry at each other. I mean, I've had people where actually I had to go over in the afternoon, and I came back in the afternoon as I was writing up the agreement and say to them, you're not the same two people who are sitting here this morning. Because this morning you were like this, the body language is this or this. There's a sure tell. I'm not about to agree to anything. And to see this thing, they're like excited, they're almost bouncing out of their chairs. So that's very rewarding. And because you've helped people. How many times in our lives do we get to help somebody? Pretty good way to make a living, isn't it?